You know that feeling when you're scrolling through endless TV options and you start wondering if you're really getting anywhere near the cinematic experience you dreamed about? I was there last weekend, standing in the living room with my friend who's about to upgrade his setup, and he was hesitating because the price tag on a 77-inch OLED with a full sound suite seemed like a gamble. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So I thought, let's break it down together before anyone drops cash on something that might not fit their space or watching habits. First off, this bundle pairs LG's newest 77-inch OLED Evo C6 with the H7 soundbar, 2 wireless M7 speakers and a W7 subwoofer. It's marketed as an all-in-one home theater upgrade, promising Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, AI upscaling, and something they call Hyper Radiant for brighter pics. The big question is, does adding all those speakers actually turn a regular movie night into something that feels like a theater, or are you just paying a premium for a lot of hardware you'll never use? Who should consider this? If you already own a 4K TV and you're happy with its picture, you probably don't need a brand new OLED. But if you've been watching the same 1080p set-top box for years and you've been dreaming about deeper blacks, true whites, and a soundstage that moves around you, this could be the moment to finally level up. It also makes sense for people who host game nights or watch a lot of action movies and want that extra punch without having to buy a separate AV receiver. The wireless speakers and sub mean you don't have to run a mess of cables across the room, which is a real plus if you've got a modern open-plan space. On the flip side, if your living room is a modest 150-square-foot apartment, the 77-inch screen might dominate the wall, and the subwoofer could be a bit too boomy for tight quarters. Likewise, if you're mainly watching streaming shows with subtitles, you might not notice the full benefit of Dolby Atmos. In those cases, a smaller OLED paired with a single soundbar would likely give you most of the visual upgrade at a lower cost. Let's talk picture first, because that's what the bundle's headline draws attention to. The C6 OLED uses LG's latest processor, the same one that powers their award-winning models, so the AI Super Upscaling does a decent job of pulling detail from lower resolution sources. I tried a 720p documentary and the image looked surprisingly crisp, the color stayed true, and the HDR10 and Dolby Vision content really popped. Hyper Radiant, as they call it, lifts the brightness a notch higher than older OLEDs, so the highlights in a nighttime cityscape didn't get washed out. If you're sitting a few feet away, you'll see that infinite contrast claim hold up. The only caveat is that the TV's reflective coating is still there, so a bright window behind you can cause some glare. It's not a deal breaker, but you'll want to control ambient light for the best experience. Now onto the sound side. The H7 soundbar is LG's first Dolby Atmos FlexConnect model, which basically means it can sync wirelessly with the two M7 satellite speakers and the W7 subwoofer to create an overhead surround effect without ceiling speakers. When I set it up for the first time, the initial pairing was smooth. The bar asks you to press a button on each satellite, and within seconds you have a full 5.1-like field. The biggest win is the dialogue clarity. In a fast-talking thriller, the voices stayed front center even when explosions roared around them. The dedicated dialogue mode pulls the mids out of the mix, making it easier for anyone who wears glasses or watches with subtitles. Bass is where the W7 subwoofer shines. It's not the kind of bone-shaking sub you'd find in a dedicated home theater room, but it adds enough low end to make action sequences feel weighty without muddying the mids. The sub's wireless design means you can place it wherever it sounds best, under a couch, on a bookshelf, or even outside the main viewing area if you need to keep it out of the way. The only weak spot I noticed is that the bass can become a bit boomy in rooms with a lot of hard surfaces. You'll want to add a rug or a couple of soft furnishings to tame it. Surround effect with the M7 speakers is decent for a wireless setup, but don't expect a cinema-level dome of sound. They do create a sense of width when you pan from left to right, and the spatial sound that flows all around claim holds up when you watch a nature documentary. Birds seem to flutter from one side to the other. However, the speakers are relatively small, so the high-frequency detail can feel a little recessed compared to a larger, dedicated surround system. If you're a true audiophile who wants pinpoint imaging, you might still miss a traditional 7.1 arrangement. Connectivity is surprisingly straightforward. The TV has multiple HDMI 2.1